Hello, I'm Otto, and welcome back to Dyson Sphere program. So in the last episode, we had a little bit of a supply problem. Once we dropped the EM turbines and the supermagnetic rings, we started having really bad iron ore problems. As you can see, we are nearly out of iron ore on this planet, and the way that we solved that was we went to what I've been calling Planet 2, and we tapped a bunch of iron over there. We have since run out of copper ore, and that is an issue that we're going to have to address soon because we are no longer going to be able to create the processors that are being created over there, and we're going to need those in the near future. So that is a near future problem. I did go back over there at some point and farmed up some extra dirt, some extra soil piles, and while I was there, I did tap some of the silicon ore and a few other things here and there. I think I tapped some titanium ore. Anyways, we also, at the end of the episode, created this proliferator build. So we aren't proliferating too much in this game, or in this run, let's say, but we are proliferating the hydrogen going into the deuterium production, or the fractionators, and then we are also proliferating all of the incoming and outgoing items that are crafting our deuteron fuel rods. So you will see that the deuteron fuel rods now have 3 arrows in them. That is indicating that we have Mark III proliferation on them. And you can also see here that it has taken full effect, and these are now giving us extra power. We have, well, about 25% more power than we had before. So that is a good thing, and that is why we like to proliferate the power items. So in this episode, there's a few things that we need to do. One, we are kind of running out of space, and that is because our starter base is now in the way. Sure, we could just continue crafting on the back end over here, but we need quite a bit more soil piles for that, and we just have a lot of land over here that is already flattened out, so it's time. We need to get rid of this. But before we do, there is one more research that I want, and that is the reformed refinement. What a name. So this is going to give us a better supply of refined oil using coal and hydrogen. We have excess hydrogen now, thankfully, now that we have, we only have 6 of the orbital collectors, which I need to add the other 34 at some point. But this will give us a little bit better oil refinement now that we have some steady hydrogen coming in. So we're going to go ahead and enable that. And now we can start the process of tearing this down. But again, before we get too far, I would like to actually grab some of this refined oil. We will just get a little bit. We are going to need to have some to kind of kickstart our next little factory. So what do we need that for? We are going to be converting this X-ray cracking build into the oil refinement. So we're going to do that when we come back. I'm going to destroy the starter base, and then we're going to come back and do a build for this. And then after that, we are going to place some builds for science. Okay, so our starter base has been completely taken down. That took quite a bit of time. We do have some nodes left over, so I have a little bit of iron here. I have some stone that we buried at the very beginning of the run. I have some coal over here and some other stone that was buried later as well. Lots of stuff. Okay, so we will eventually start tapping those again, and I'm just going to try to work around them. So for instance, this iron, we will end up using this lane here, but then skip this lane here and then use these lanes, assuming that we can get around that. We might not be able to get around that stone. Whatever. Either way, we're going to get through a lot of this as fast as possible. So we'll tap a lot of that and then burn through it as fast as we can. Okay, so I also added some foundations over here. I added it's the 2 ingredient build that we made for Assembling Machines a couple of episodes ago, or several episodes ago. And I like to have a lot of this on hand. So I'm going to leave this wide open and mix this with what we have. This is nowhere near any, if you think you have enough foundation, you definitely don't, because if you wanted to, as an example, completely cover an entire planet in foundation, I think it's a little over 300,000 foundation or something like that. Yeah, it is a completely ridiculous amount. Anyways, we now need to set up a build for the refinement. To be honest, we probably should have done this before we destroyed the starter base, but that's fine. We can go ahead and do this now. So we need to change the recipes. We're just going to do the first 4 to start with. And there's a few things we need to do. One, we need to remove the filter for the hydrogen, which is on the outgoing lane and on the export lane. And then when we were making the hydrogen, we had hydrogen going out, but then we had refined oil and, we had this coming in. Yes. And the graphite and the hydrogen were going out. So because the graphite was going out, and we're going to need other things. So if we were to look at the refined oil, we need to bring in coal, we need to bring in hydrogen, and we are going to be outputting the refined oil. So we're actually just going to clear all of these settings so that we can put the refined oil on top. And we need to bring in hydrogen, and we need to bring in coal. So the line that we had for the graphite, we're going to reverse this and then set this for coal. It is already set for coal. And then reverse the other one as well. Reverse path, and that is set for coal. We are also going to remove the sorters that are on the inside, or that are on that lane. So the way that we're going to do that is we're going to do the surface. We're going to reduce the surface and only filter for sorters. That way we can just kind of go down the line and remove these sorters. And we will need to do this on both sides. They were also filtered for graphite, but that's not a big deal because, well, we're just getting rid of them completely. So the filter doesn't matter at all. All right, and one other little thing that I did is I did add little tails on the end of this belt here and on the other side as well, just because if we try to copy and paste down the line, it wouldn't allow us. So even though the sorters are already there, it would say that the sorters can't go there. So we're going to tab, tab, tab all the way down. Tab, tab, tab all the way down. And we shouldn't need to tab for this one if I remember right. Yep. There we go. So now we have all of this. We need to bring in, let's just do like 2,000 of each. So I'm only going to be drawing the hydrogen from local. I'm not going to draw this remotely. I want to leave all of the remote hydrogen to my fractionator build. And then the refined oil, I'm just going to leave wide open. Okay, so we will need to jumpstart this. Yeah, I love how I tried to put it in the output slot. Go me. Any minute now. There we go. Oh, you know what? We didn't filter in... Hold on. We didn't filter in for hydrogen. So this one needs to be hydrogen. This one needs to be hydrogen. And this one. The hydrogen that is here, this is for the output. So once the output changes, then that should also change. So I'm not really too concerned about that. I also completely forgot to take a blueprint of both the cracking and some other builds. I mean, I guess technically the cracking is the only thing that we've done, but I'm going to make a blueprint for the cracking. And I might even just... I don't think I want to set one up for the oil, but just in case we do want to process more oil, just, you know, for the extra, let's say refined oil, and maybe the hydrogen consumption here, we could always make an oil build. Because if you didn't have the fire ice build, then you would be completely relying on the oil to get the hydrogen and the orbital collectors to get the hydrogen. Why is this taking so long? What did we mess up? We did not add in the sorters for the coal. Okay, go me. Alright, so this is going to be input there, and then input there and input there. We need to copy these down the line again. And especially these up here, since we already have all the ingredients we need. What is going on here? Why did this not save? There we go. Okay, so these are all working. These are all working. And it is certainly continuing down the line. Now we should be getting a somewhat steady stream of the refined oil. It's not much, but it's something. Yeah, we're probably going to need to double up on this build, which is no big deal. Which means that we will probably want to hold on to some more of this. Anyways, we are going to get into the science builds now. This is going to be a permanent science build. Like, this is... we're setting up for the end game. So I have some extra, yep, 100 over here. And then I have some in my inventory as well. So I have, what is that, 325? I have 325 of the matrix slabs. And I've also set up a little indicator to let me know where we're starting. So why did I pick this point? Well, it is the same line that we have been using the entire time to make sure that we are oriented towards the, what we're calling the center meridian, the main meridian line. So that comes down through here, and we will need to add some foundation, which I do not move over. I did have my water over here at some point because I did say that these middle sections would be fair game, but we are going to use some of these middle sections, so I did move the water over to here. Doesn't really matter. This is largely temporary. Like, we're eventually going to get our water from another planet and ship it in. So even though the cost of shipping is probably not worth the water, we are going to do that. Where did my line go? I lost it. Oh, it was right here. Okay, so we're going to need some extra space. And we're largely using the area that once we get to... okay, I went too far. We do not need this area. We need these areas down here. So the first line here, that is 2 of the soft line squares. We will need this area and the area above it. So in between the 5 soft line squares and the 2 soft line squares. But we're also going to look at this line here where that we have 2 soft line squares. And the reason why is because we have 5 squares here. That means there's 20 around this circle. And since we have 5 different colored sciences, we have the blue, red, yellow, purple, and green. Yes, there are more, but we're going to get into that later. We're going to divide this into 5 sections. So starting here, if you look and we take 4 of these sections, you'll see that the line that is created here will take us down the main meridian line. And then the line that is created here, we're going to have this funky little skip on the next little tropic section, and then a line that is largely straight for a pretty good bit of time. We don't need to go that far out, but we do need to know that from here to here is a section. And then using that same section from here to here is another section. And you kind of get the idea. Every 4 squares on that ring down here, there is going to be another section. So we're going to line things up like that. And if you're having a hard time even at that point finding, like, let's say the middle point, then here's what we're going to do. So we're going to place an ILS here, and I need to go further in. The next easiest way to line this up is we are going to have an outgoing belt that is going into the ILS. Now, we don't need this much room, but I am just doing this to kind of show you how you would figure out what kind of spacing you need. So if we grab one of the matrix slabs, you can see this line right here. So a full hardline square out from where we placed our initial ILS. So I'm going to actually line this right on top of that line and right up against that belt. And then as we come around, I'm going to tab twice to give us a spacing every 2 of these. And then I'm going to place 12 down. That is because 12 is the most that we're going to be placing. And the reason why is because if you take a look at the sciences, the electromagnetic matrix, the blue cubes, we can craft 1 every 3 seconds. So if we had 3 machines, we would be crafting 1 per second. And this is going to be the baseline. So that would mean 3 stacks or 3 machines makes 1 per second. To make 1 per second for the energy matrix, we would need 6. Since each one is crafting 1 every 6 seconds, that means 6 of these would craft 1 per second. The structure matrix would need 8. The information matrix, the purple, would need 10. And the green, I forget what the name of it is, but it's 24 seconds and it crafts 2 at a time. Gravity matrix. So this one creates 2 every 24 seconds or 1 every 12 seconds. So that is where I get the 12 from. And then let's just go ahead and set this up partially so that whenever I control or shift and click, I did not set this up. There we go. You can now see that we have the correct amount of spacing. So what that would look like. And we are going to need this whole section. So the next section would then be over, nope, not over here. Over here? Nope. Lining up right on this line. Tab, tab. And we need 12, so then the next building would go here. And that's how we're going to space it out.
Mineral depleted.
And then one last one over here. And that is our last one. So now we have 5 ILS that are completely evenly spaced apart. Ironically, the only one that we're going to have that is 12 wide is going to be this one here. So let's just go ahead and add that and place these 12. Okay, so this is not going to look this nice, I promise. It's going to look nice, just not as nice as it looks now.
Flight mode.
Okay, so for the blue science, we only need 3 stacks. And this is going to be our outgoing line, so this is going to be blue signs. Now, I tend to prefer to just go ahead and set these all up, and when we're talking about the inputs and outputs, the outputs, we only really need the Mark 1 inserters, or sorry, Mark 1 sorters, so we're going to have Mark 1 there, and then for the inputs, we're going to bring in our inputs here. I should have gone ahead and set these up. And the nice thing about all of these builds is they're all basically identical because each of the sciences, 2 ingredients in, 2 ingredients in, 2 ingredients, 2 ingredients, and then the gravity matrix, or the gravity matrix is 2 ingredients. So all of them have 2 ingredients in, so they all look basically the exact same. And let's go ahead and set this up for the blue. We need the coils and the circuit boards, and we're just going to request in like 2000. Once we actually get this active and set up, the kind of key thing that you're going to want to try to do at that point is keep these fully saturated. Also, when we're bringing in items to the matrix, like we can only stack these, I think it's like 7 high at the moment. Yeah, so we can only stack them 7 high at the moment, and I recommend not doing that until we're completely done. But I think you eventually get to like 15 high or something ridiculous. So because of that, and because these sorters need to feed all of those, we're going to use the pile sorters for everything incoming. One last thing is each of these will be requesting in some proliferation, some proliferators. So we are going to go ahead and request this in. I guess you could do remote. I don't think we're going to be making the proliferation, proliferators off-site. So we're going to be proliferating both the inputs and the output. You don't necessarily have to do the output, but I'm just going to do it now. Just because. You know what? Let's not. Okay. The only reason why I'm not going to do the output is because of the green matrix, the gravity matrix. The gravity matrix is the only one that actually makes something else. And like it's fine if it's proliferated because this is the only ingredient. So if the green was proliferated, it would just make more of the space warpers, but I'm not really too concerned. We're going to be proliferating the outputs anyways. So for now, I'm just going to leave it like this. Okay, so we need proliferators here, and it's just as simple as that. Okay, now the only thing we have left is power. So power is going to go into the slots in the middle, and then the tower is going to get its own power. So we're going to go ahead and hook all of these up, and all of the builds are basically the exact same. The only difference is how many machines we have. So the red will have 6. The yellow will have 8. The purple will have 10. And then the green will have 12. So I'm going to go ahead and set these up, and then I will be back shortly. Okay, so I have set up all these sciences. I have set up the blue, red, yellow, purple, and I went ahead and prepped for the green. Obviously, we already had some of these down, so the green is nice and prepped. I would also highly suggest not requesting in any of the materials until you have power because of the proliferation. So the last thing we need to do is obviously to set up power. Thankfully, there's a few things nearby that we can just latch on to. Doesn't need to be anything special. And what about this one? Can we get this one too? Oh, one more. Okay, so now we have power and we can start requesting in all of these to go ahead and start working on creating each of the sciences. Now we obviously need somewhere to research. And then we also don't have any of the titanium crystals, which is a 2-in-1 build that a 2-in-1? I think it's a 2-in-1. There are a few builds that I will need to place for those. So yeah, there's going to be quite a bit that I'm doing off screen. I'm going to have to place, what do we need? We need builds for plastic. What in the world is this thing? I need plastic, I need organic crystals. We have sulfuric acid, but we might need a second refined oil build. We also need titanium crystals, and I need to place a processor build. So I did end up placing some builds. I have silicon over here. I do not have anything for titanium at the moment. And then I have the, the microcrystalline components here. I'll probably put a processor build right down in front of this, and oh, I missed an insider. Interesting. That is a mess up that I'll have to fix in the blueprint, I suppose. Anyways, I'll do that later. Okay, so we need to realign with the blue. This is kind of like the main meridian line that we're using. So the next thing that we need to do is we need to make a build that is going to use the research. So going down this line, we're going to place this right on top of the tropic line. And then we're going to take this one and place it on the opposite side as well. So right on this tropic line. So that way we have two on opposite ends of each other. We will also need to fill a lot of this in. Maybe, maybe not. Might as well just do it anyways. Better safe than sorry. We're going to eventually fill this whole planet in anyway, so it's not like it's wasted. Okay, so we are going to take these two ILS, and right in the middle here, we're going to stand on this tropic line, and we're going to place our first matrix lab right here, I believe. No, here. So not on the tropic line, but the next one in. And then from here, we can just stretch these out. We're going to go 10 in this direction and 10 in the other direction, which will give us 21 total. And again, this is going to be where we research. I probably just should have set this up first. Whatever, I can do all that later. Okay, so this is going to be bringing in blue science, red science, yellow science, and then we're prepping this for the end of the game. So this is the last, basically the last science setup that we ever have to sit down, and because of that we are going to be prepping ahead of time. So this is going to be Proliferator. We can go ahead and request that in if we want. And we're saving this section for antimatter. So this is something that we won't really talk about for, in the near future, but we are saving a single slot for antimatter. And I need some belts. Man, I really need to place some halos down. So some hollow beacons down so that I can figure out where all my stuff is on the fly. Anyways, so this first one here is going to be the blue cubes, and then that will come out and go down the first line. We're not going to push this all the way down just yet, and I'll explain why shortly. So this one is going to be red. This one is going to be yellow. And then the last one is going to be for the antimatter. So if you've looked ahead, or if you already know, you will know that we need 6 items incoming eventually. For now, this will be just research, but eventually there will be white science. So if you've looked ahead, all the way here at the end, white science needs 6 ingredients in and 1 ingredient out. So this will eventually be converted into the white science production. Well, obviously, if we wanted a fourth belt out, we cannot bring in anything that far. We can only bring in 3 belts away on both sides. So that means that the 7th slot has to come from somewhere. There's a few different options for this, and I'll show another version at some point. Actually, you know what? I'll show it at the end of this video. The last time that I played this game, I did experiment a little bit, and I came up with a really interesting way of doing it, but this is going to be the easier version. So what we're going to do is we're going to take splitters, and we need the narrow version, and we're going to end up having a belt down the middle here. So we do need to bring in a splitter, and then that will allow us to bring in a belt like this, and then this belt can go over the other belts and into the middle. Whoops. Like that. And because it's easier to set the belts up, these elevated belts, before we place these, we're going to go ahead and set this up. So what do I mean by that is, let's just go ahead and go to the next one. So if I were to then take this and place it here, go up one, you can see that this is giving me trouble. That was it. There. And because it's going to give us trouble like that, I like to just go ahead and set them up. So we're going to skip every 2 sections. So we're going to have one down the middle here, skip a section, and then one down the middle here, and then skip a section like that. And we're just going to go ahead and set these up ahead of time. And again, all of this is in preparation for the end of the game. A lot of people like to say early, mid, and late game. I tend to prefer looking at it like early, mid, late game, and then end game. So I do consider there to be 4 classifications. Okay, so now we can do the easy part. We're going to hit up, and then we're just going to go to the next one. And we're going to the second lane in. There, and that is all set up. And then the next thing we're going to do is the belts that are on the inside lanes. Sorry, the main lines. After we do that, then we can just simply connect this. And I like to double click here and then here, because if you were to just take this all the way out, there's a little bit of a weird elevation thing that it does. So I do click twice, and then all of these can just be connected into the splitters. Another nice reason for doing it this way is you don't have to change the elevation constantly. You can just set the elevation once, and then you don't have to worry about it anymore. Yep, that is why we place those belts first. And then this last belt, it can just go around. We went too far. Not too much longer, and our bots will be fast enough that we don't have to worry about accidentally missing little sections like this. Okay, so same thing with the other builds. We are going to do anything that is incoming, we're going to use a pile sorter. So I'm going to go ahead and set all of these up for pile sorters. And the output, I'm also just going to go ahead and set it with a pile sorter. I just don't feel like swapping back and forth. So that is going to be set up like this. And yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and set these up real quick. and we're going to speed right through this. Okay, so the last thing that we need to do is set up some power poles, and we're just going to tab twice, and then we can just drag that all the way through. The bots will do the rest.
Flight mode.
Alright, so that is the first 3. And then, since we didn't proliferate the outputs over here, we are going to need to proliferate the inputs here. So we're just going to go ahead and add 4 of these. And then add proliferator here, and just drag that all the way through. They are all filled up. Okay, well, that obviously accounts for 3 of these, but we obviously have a few more. So on this side, the line that is going down, the closest line is going to be our output line. So this is going to be for the future white science.
Flight mode.
And this is going to go in on the back side like this. And then this is going to be the purple. So we need white science. Okay, we don't have the ability to set up white science. That is going to be for white science there. This is going to be purple science. This is going to be green science. And then we need some proliferator over here as well. And then obviously we're going to go ahead and set up for green science. Might as well. That way we can just get to green science and then boom, turn it right on.
Insufficient materials.
Should have had one of these placed the entire time. Go me.
Flight mode.
Okay, so the last thing that we need for this is the sorters. So we need 1 output and then 2 input.
Middle clear.
And the last thing that we need to do over here is add in our proliferation. So that is going to be here. A little awkward, but it is what it is. And then this guy needs some power. So I was editing the video and realized I completely forgot to add in the alternate way of doing the science. So ignore the spaghetti for a minute, but I think this was like the last time that I played Dyson Sphere program before I started making Factorio content. But I did try to test this out and it worked out just fine. It obviously has some some ups and downs. So like I said, ignore the spaghetti, but it does have proliferators coming in, or sprayed. All of the belts are being spray coated. And then each of the ingredients is filtered into these 2 chests that are stacked on top of each other. And since they're stacked, the contents of anything on the stack is available to the inserters that are the sorters that are going into the research facilities. The downside is obviously that you have to store up to 200 per before any of them get saturated. So yeah, but that is 6 ingredients on one side, and then on the other side of the belt you have the output. Yeah, I just wanted to show that off, and back to the video. Okay, so that is going to be it for me for this episode. We are now crafting away at some of the sciences, and we're going to need to add some more. So we can obviously stack these up. So I would recommend that you stack them up to the cap. I'm going to, for now, leave them. I will, oh, that's laggy. I will go ahead and stack these up after the episode, and I'm also going to go ahead and place down all the things we're missing. So we are missing some titanium crystals, but they need organic crystals, so I need to make some organic crystals. I need some of the particle broadband, which means that I need some plastic. And because I'm going to need plastic, I've got sulfur going, and we're going to need the organic crystals, which also require heavy oil. I'm probably going to add, or sorry, refined oil. I'm probably going to go ahead and add another one of these. So I'm going to do all that off camera. I mean, the sulfuric acid is, yeah, this can't even keep up with the sulfuric acid, so we might even need more than this. I might even set up an oil build. Anyways, that is going to be it for me for this episode. We need to clear the dark fog out of our system. So once we get some purple science going, we're going to start working on some more things for the future, but we also need to get to the Corvettes. So before we get to the Corvettes, we need the implosion cannon. We need the planetary defense here, and I believe that's it. Yeah, we do not need the jam tower. Okay, so that is what we are going to be working on in the near future, is clearing the dark fog out. So we're going to have a tiny little build to get our Corvettes going in the next episode, and then we're going to take on the dark fog. Okay, I will see you in the next episode, and thanks for watching.